I had to use it.
know if this is the last one.
All right, it's 4 o'clock. So we are going to call the March 19th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Clerk, will you call the roll for us, please?
Commissioner Wheeler,
Here.
Commissioner DeLu,
Here.
Commissioner Gisler,
Here.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler, Commissioner Mazer,
Here.
Commissioner Morales, Chair Ray, Commissioner Strebs,
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor.
Here.
You have 8 present.
Thank you, Clerk. And Commissioner Morales did let us know that she will not be here at 4 o'clock, but she will be here at 7. Okay, so next we have public comment time. The next item on the agenda is public comment time. This is the time when anyone may address the board on any topic. If you would like to address the board, please come to the podium. Please state your name and tell us where you're from. Limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Your time is displayed, and once your 3 minutes are up, your time to speak has finished. This is a time to provide input in a professional and respectful manner. If there's anyone who wish to make public comment, now is your time. All right, so you know what? Dina, is there anyone online?
Chair, there is no hands raised.
Moving right along. Thank you, Dina. So next up, we have interviews for the Open Data Citizen Oversight and Advisory Committee. We have 5 interviews. Dina, are all 5 of those confirmed?
I just received word that Martin Ellis probably will not be joining us for this interview.
Okay,
The other ones have confirmed.
okay. Are they online or in person?
They are not online.
Okay. Okay, so we have Alvin Goodlow, Denisha Moore, Dontre Hemphill, and Summer Somerville. I don't see any of those folks. And Jason Allen. Okay. All right, we're moving right along. That saved us 75 minutes. It's a very long lunch break. Yes.
Yeah, are we just pushing the can down the road, or are we gonna start saying if you don't show after so many tries? You know, you're obviously not that interested.
I think we could do that, but I don't think any of these people were scheduled last time. Last time we had 4 scheduled. I think there were some different people. I think Ellis Martin was one of those people who didn't show. However, I don't think any of the other people were scheduled. So we can reach out and try to reschedule. If they don't want to be interviewed, we can repost it, but we don't have enough people to fill the seats for this committee without interviewing these folks.
Okay.
Vice Chair?
There was one person we interviewed last meeting. I thought that was just remarkable. I'm good with actually both of them were pretty good. But the first one I thought was remarkable. The second one I thought was pretty good as well. But if we want to just go ahead and put those 2 people on, I'd be okay with that. And then knowing that we have less to do. Well, I don't know if we're that there yet. It's a brand new committee, but we're inching our way closer to it.
Yeah, well, if that's a motion, we can certainly entertain it.
Council or Kevin, is that an appropriate motion to appoint those 2 people before we appoint everybody else, or is that okay?
Yes, Vice Chair, I believe you can. We just got word though in the audience, it sounds like the audio was a little low. So if you could just ask if there are applicants here again, just to confirm, and then we can try to move on with that motion.
Sure, absolutely. I just locked myself on my computer. So whoever helps with that, I need help. So we have Alvin Goodlow, Denisha Moore, Dontre Hemphill, and Summer Somerville. All right. One once, one twice. Sold, and we'll entertain the motion.
I would like to move that we appoint Jason Allen and Ashley Schlebeck. Am I pronouncing that right? Schlebeck. To the Open Data Citizen Oversight Advisory Committee.
All right, it's been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, motion carries. Corporate counsel, did you have a question? Okay, you know where the button is? Okay, you got it? Bottom right.
This one?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving along, we have review of accounts payable and payroll disbursements from Finance Director Post.
Afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem, Commissioners. An accounts payable claims list totaling $2,548,501.87 is presented for review. Of this total, the Board of Commissioners is asked to approve claims totaling $2,498,812.78. Payroll disbursements totaling $3,813,168.09 are presented for the March 15th regular payroll. Are there any questions with this set of claims?
Vice Chair has questions.
Sorry, I always do. I apologize. Under the Justice Facility Construction, I apologize for not bringing this earlier. It was at the very bottom of the claims list and I didn't get to it till this afternoon, but there's a 511,000 for the CSM. Is that the last CSM group thing we're spending over out of the Justice Facility Construction?
Yes, Vice Chair, great question. That is not the last payment. So there's still around, actually received a question from Commissioner Strebs on this, but there's still around about 4.3 million left to go. So there's a retainage that was required by the state to keep. So we're working with them on a letter of credit, but there's balances that we still have to pay on that. So around 4.3 million, it still remains on that contract.
How much do we have left in that? I mean, I assume we went through all the cash portion of it and we're at the borrowing capacity now, correct?
So no, we actually spent down, we spent down the bond proceeds first, so we're only at cash. And so out of owner contingency, we have roughly 1.7 million remaining. And so there's a lot of punch list items and such that we're going through, but so we're hoping to utilize the balance of that to renovate the Gull Road Justice Complex to accommodate the new judge beginning January 1st, 2025.
So we'll have the 1.7 after the 4.3 that's currently owed, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Oh, okay. So it's not, we have 1.7 and we owe 4 point, okay. Okay, good. That's it.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you. Any other items? We have a LISC housing update from Executive Director Zach Bauer. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. Chair Ray, Vice Chair Taylor, and Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. I'm here to just update you on some work that LISC is doing in the housing sector that will supplement some of the presentations that you're seeing later today, but by no means you have the best projects in that pool. So think about this for a brief moment and we'll be back in probably a year, but we're working with a lot of your functionaries and we wanted to make sure that this body was aware of the work that we're doing. So last year, the LISC in partnership with the Land Bank received a very large gift from local philanthropists to purchase a real estate portfolio, a rental real estate portfolio of approximately 53 units. And since that time, we have been working diligently with the staff of the Land Bank to come up with a housing strategy that will help prioritize some of the housing work that you will consider tonight, but also some of the pervasive needs that we see in the community as a whole. That is finding affordable housing for those at the lower AMI levels that we have in our community. And so what this is an acquisition, rehab, resale strategy where we have acquired the property, we are holding it in the land bank, which provides us with unique tax implications. It zeroes out the tax basis, so we don't have carrying costs for the duration of this project. We plan on rehabbing these homes in partnership with area employers and then reselling them. And the best part of this is because we're controlling for costs, we're able to price these appropriately and to their size so that we are not entering the market or stripping value out of the homes or out of the neighborhoods, but pricing them appropriately, both for the families that will ultimately live there, but also for the neighborhood. We are prioritizing partnership. And so a special thanks to Kalamazoo County Treasurer Thomas Whitener and his staff at the Land Bank. Sid and team are really intricate partners in this. They are caring for the lots right now in the homes as we prepare to do the rehab. Also a special thanks to the Kalamazoo County Housing Department. Mary Balkema helped facilitate this purchase, and her deputy Willa DiTerano has been an intricate part of our work in evaluating this process. What we're looking to do is focus on that strong partnership with local units of government, but also in efficiency of capital. When it's appropriate, we're seeking to use funds in innovative ways where we can revolve them and ensure that grant funds can get as much mileage out of them as possible. I'm assuming that this presentation is in your packet, right? With the corrections from my staff incidentally as well. Sorry about that. So now I'm moving on to page, the second slide. A big part of this is ensuring that the community is involved. And so we have been working closely with the city of Kalamazoo with their housing and code enforcement to ensure that the issues that are going on in the home are being addressed. We're working closely with local funders, the city of Kalamazoo, along with some of our largest philanthropists. Most recently, the project received a $4.5 million grant from the Stryker Johnson Foundation to help support the rehabilitation of these homes. What's important about that is that will be used as leverage funds and as a match for the Mishta Regional Housing Plan application, which will come down here at the beginning of April. And we're in the process of an MOU development between LISC and the Land Bank, which will help us to understand our roles in this and also think about this as a more strategic initiative going forward. How can both LISC and the Land Bank purchase real estate portfolios in mass and use them as a redevelopment vehicle in the future? Like I said, a big part of this is leveraging both local tax dollars as well as local philanthropy. And so, like I said, in December of 2023, we received a $4.5 million grant from the Stryker Johnson Foundation. Here in the coming months, we'll be applying to the Kalamazoo Community Foundation and the Irving S. Gilmore. We'll be back here talking to you again, probably in December of next year or of this year, seeking support from the millage, but also from other areas, including the city of Kalamazoo. And so what can you expect from us moving forward? We think it's important to keep this body informed of what's going on at the Land Bank. And so what you'll hear a lot about is in the next 3 months, about 8 rehabs will be done along with 3 constructions. That's what we're hoping for if we're able to get the funding from the state. But also you'll be hearing more about how we're partnering with local organizations to find folks that live in these homes, particularly in that 60% AMI and below space. So if you're thinking about this contextually, that's a family of 3 making about $50,000. So we wanted to keep it brief tonight and just give you an update and answer any questions. You have a lot of housing to consider tonight already. So if there's questions, we'll take them. Otherwise, we'll talk to you in a couple months.
Thank you, sir. Questions, Commissioner Hipler?
Thank you, Chair. It looks like a lot of your work seems to be in the city of Kalamazoo. Are you able to branch out and do work in Cooper Township or in the city of Galesburg, Vicksburg, Schoolcraft, Augusta? Many of those, there's needs out in those areas too. And I'm just curious as to how far outreaching, and obviously we applaud all the work that's being done in the city, but we want to see work done everywhere in the county. It's county.
Yeah, of course. So LISC is primarily a more urban organization. It's really what our tools are crafted to use. But we are in the process of bringing a rural program back to Kalamazoo. We used to have it headquartered here for many, many years. We are in the process of exploring that right now. So not yet, but soon.
In other words,
Just in the city. Right now, the city of Kalamazoo, the city of Portage, and the city of Battle Creek.
Commissioner Stearns?
Thank you, Chair. Good to see you, Zach. Long time no see in chambers. So just my question is about the families that will be targeted to move into the properties. You told me you would be working with sort of local nonprofits or service agencies to identify those families. Is the plan for like a rent to own position? Is it a supported financing? Help me visualize how, and then how do we also ensure that, we don't have big money developers swoop in and scoop up the properties now that they're nice and rehabbed at low cost, out of the market.
Yeah, well, this is an excellent example of the thought partnership between the housing department at the county and LISC. So we're currently working with Deputy Director Toronto on a lease to own option for folks and where that would ultimately live. Land contracts get a bad rap because of the way they've been deployed. But if we can come up with a less predatory or a non-predatory instrument that can convey property this way, then we're going to do that. I think what we're trying to do right now is determine what are the tenets of that agreement look like and where does it live? Capacity is a big issue in the housing sector right now. And we want to make sure that it's in a place that it can be for 20 years, because that's going to be the life of this agreement. Specifically to how do we prevent developers or speculators to come in and purchase already rehabbed homes. Right now, again, partnering with the city, Rebecca Kick, Director Kick, or Deputy, she received her promotion recently, she's somewhere up there, has done extensive research with the Arcus Foundation to look at community land trusts as an option. We're also looking at deed restrictions as well. So, they're viable for approaching 20 years and then they're squashable, but we're considering both options right now.
Super excited to hear those approaches being taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Gisler.
Thanks, Chair. Zach, I don't want you to think I've forgotten about my request that when you're ready to become a full member of the bar, I get one of the invites.
Commissioner Gisler, you will be right next to my parents, I guarantee you. But I assure you, it's not looking like I'm going to be an attorney. So I think I'm hanging up the hat.
So you're a law school graduate,
I know.
you're ready to roll, and you're just
I
too
tell you
damn
what, when you
busy.
get in trouble for the first time, I'll take the bar just for you.
Okay,
Okay.
well, with the chair we've got, I'm always in trouble.
For her as well. For her as well.
Appreciate that.
No problem. Yeah.
Vice Chair.
It's hard to follow that.
Yes.
I had actually, it's kind of more of a comment to commissioners. Zach did a great job presenting to the land bank meeting that we were at last. I will just say that some of these deed restrictions, while I understand the necessity to keep these properties for the affordability portion of it, to keep the tax rate off, the purpose of the land bank is to take dilapidated properties and put them back on the tax roll. I'd always like to see some sort of at least time frame, whether it's 5 years, 7 years, wherever it is, so that we always have a mission and a goal of eventually getting into home ownership and getting these properties back on the tax rolls. So it's just my 2 cents.
And just to build on that, we are exploring the Family Resiliency Project, which is a program through MISHDA, which seeks to move people from vouchered housing to ownership. And so there's a very large programmatic regime that goes along with that. And so you can expect us to be working both with your community development department as well as your housing department to realize that.
Any other questions? Zach, thank you for your presentation. Also, I think the testing project is a really good project. So I appreciate the work that LISC and the land bank is doing to make that happen and pull it together.
Thank
And
you,
it's
Chair.
always good to see you.
Nice to see you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so it sounds like a couple of our folks, I'm sorry, Commissioner DeLu.
I just, to tell the treasurer's getting anxious back there, you skipped over his investment report.
Oh, man. Oh, man, I feel so bad. I tried to have that removed and it didn't work. No joking. So we'll hear the monthly investment report from the Chief Deputy Treasurer. And then after that, we have a couple of the folks online that we're supposed to interview. So we'll do that. And then Director Balkma, You can have the rest of the meeting. Hi, Tyler.
Howdy. Thank you. I'll try to make this brief so that way we can move on to everybody else. Just reporting on the investment portfolio as of February 29th, previously sent to y'all by administration. As of the 29th, the county's investment portfolio had a par value balance of $153,201,403.02 with a market value of $152,224,090.74. That's a variance between par and market values of $977,312.28. February's market values ended on a sour note since the variance increased by about $320,000 between January and February. Note that this is an unrealized market change. This won't actually have an impact on any of our end returns unless we liquidate our portfolio. Please don't. We'll continue to keep the board advised of any changes and updates as we receive them. As for actual monthly earnings, the portfolio earned $559,000, $757.63 on an average daily balance of $152,016,982.67 for an effective rate of return on the county's investments of 4.63%. It's inclusive of all realized gains and losses on sales and maturities on U.S. Treasury notes through our partner managed accounts. Like past multiple months, that partner has a current yield of 5.42%. It's part of our normal activity, and we're happy to let them do as they do if they're earning us well over 5%. Our year-to-date earnings total $1,167,837.48, inclusive of all realized gains, losses, amortization of investment premiums and discounts. And of this, $688,077.81 relates to general fund investments. Assuming our first 2 months are representative of the entire year, we might expect approximately $7 million in earnings by December 31st. We recommend not relying on that solely because we don't necessarily know that past performance is predictive of future results, but we will keep that in mind. It's just so that way you have some kind of ballpark of what you might expect by this time in December, assuming everything else holds the same trends that we've been seeing. Note that inflation for February was 3.2%. This is up 0.1% from January, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The Bureau noted that the indexes for shelter and gasoline contributed over 60% of the monthly increase. And the increase in inflation, even if just by 0.1%, might suggest that we won't see rate cuts from the Fed at this month's meeting or possibly even until the summer. We'll continue to monitor this. We'll keep you posted. And fortunately, our 4.63% rate of return exceeds inflation. We continue to experience net gains in our buying power. And if the rates remain higher, that means that we're going to have higher returns on some of our more liquid assets and be able to lock in some higher rates, hopefully through the rest of the spring into early summer. And as rates do start to fall, it gives us more opportunity to lock in higher rates while we can. All of that will keep you in the loop on because we don't know what the Fed will do until they do it. If I had the ability to predict that, I'd be on Wall Street. But of course, if anybody has questions, be happy to answer them and go from there.
Thank you, Tyler. Vice Chair.
Thanks. I was going to see if anybody else wanted to go first. Great work, Tyler. Last year, as you guys know, and I've harped on this a million times, we budgeted $1.2 million and we raised 7, 8, 6, depending on where you look and how much goes to general fund and how much doesn't. This year we budgeted, I think it was 2.5 or $2.5 million in our 2024 budget. Do you know off the top of your head what we had in revenue for investments?
Not off the top of my head. I'd have to take a look again for the course of the year, but I can double back for you.
I will say with complete confidence, and I don't work on Wall Street, we'll more than double that. Now we can't rely on investing or using investment income to balance the budget. But we do have that golden ratio that administration came up with, that golden formula that came up with, that we are going to have substantial overages each and every year as long as interest rates stay as high as they are. So as we get after the audit and as we get realize what our true carryover was from last year. Commissioners should be, cognizant and put in the back of their minds, whether it's the fair, whatever they want to do, there will be substantial money, and a lot of that has to do with you and your office. Thank you very much. We went from making, 1.2 million to 7 in 1 year. So that's just, it's a huge testament to what this board did in conjunction with the treasurer's office. So thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Tyler. Sorry for skipping. Okay, so now we have, is it Denisha Moore and Dontre Hemphill online? Okay, to interview for the Open Data Citizens Oversight and Advisory Committee. So Dina, whichever one you choose, you like to bring them over so we can get started.
I will be bringing Dontre over, and apparently Denisha is having some issues, so she probably won't be joining us today due to the technology issues she's having.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Dina.
Dontre, if you could unmute yourself, please, that'd be great.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, Dontre. Welcome.
How you doing? Thank you.
Thank you for applying for this committee and taking the time to interview with us today. We have 9 questions for you. There's 8 of us, so each one of us will go around, introduce ourselves, ask the questions, and then at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to ask us any questions that you may have. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I'm
Can you
Tammy
guys?
Ray.
Can you?
sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me though? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll get us started. My name is Tammy Ray. I represent District 1. And my question for you is, what do you know about this advisory board and why are you interested in serving on it?
I'm interested in serving on this advisory board. What I know about it is, having some connection. Okay.
Dina, did we lose him?
He is still on. Dontre, can you, oh, he just went off. My apologies, Chair.
Okay, no worries. I think we can maybe wait until the clock strikes 4:30 and then we can hear from Director Balkema, and then at the end, we can follow up. No, they're not ready. All right. Chicken. Commissioner, I guess so you got a song?
Probably not what we want to hear.
His hearing aids down, he can't hear me. All right, it's 4:30. Dina, is he back?
He is not, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We'll check back with you after we hear from Director Balkema.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem, and Commissioners. I'm here tonight. My name is Mary Balkema. I'm your Housing Director, and I'm here tonight to talk about the housing millage recommendation. Since we last met, there have been a few items that I would like to update you on. The first is that the Public Housing Commission voted to purchase 10 modular units at their last meeting. This action is tie-barred with a loan request for $321,500, which is on the recommendation list. The second item is that we went to Texas Township and the board did not approve the housing TIF plan for Q Corners. And without the approval of the housing TIF plan, that project cannot move forward. Behind me are many housing experts in the audience that came this afternoon. If you have specific questions on a project, I can call the folks up and hopefully they can answer. So many of you gave me your recommendations, and from those recommendations, I put forward a recommendation that is before you on the cow, and I would like final approval at your April 2nd meeting. So the ones that are recommended on the 2024 housing millage budget, those are ready to go, except for car and car real estate, which I will continually work on until they are ready to go. They anticipate that that will be later this year. Everything else either needs an advanced letter so they can go into mischief with tax credits. They're still somewhere in their capital stack, they're fundraising. The ones on supportive services that I've recommended for next year, they are still spending their last year and this year's millage, and they would like us to give them an award for next year so they can get ready, keep their staffing, and get their grant agreement in front of this governing body. So I think at this time, if you have questions or comments, I'm certainly willing to entertain them. Many of you sent questions. I hope I've answered them to the best of my ability, but if you have any further dialogue, I'm certainly willing to hear it.
Thank you, Director Buckland. Questions? I just have one quick question.
Sure.
And then I'll give Commissioner Stubbs the floor. So the ones, and I don't have it pulled up because my laptop keeps doing weird stuff, but I did read it yesterday. The supportive services that you're recommending for next year that haven't spent funding yet for this year, should we wait until next year to award that funding so we can get like a final report and we know what they've done last year or with the funding that we already awarded? Thank you.
Thanks, that's a good question, but some of them, like Community Homeworks or KNHS with their roof problem or their critical home repair, they have staffed up. And so I would like the approval this year so they can keep their staffing and they can get all their grants in place to keep moving. So those multi-year funding awards or the advance awards, I think are helpful, but they are still spending money that we gave them from, this year's grant. So you know what, it really does need to start next year. And, the staffing is really key on a lot of this stuff.
Okay, I did notice that there were 3 organizations that you were recommending multi-year funding for.
Yes.
Was that listed in the RFP? So did everybody know they were applying for multi-year funding? Or is that just something that was decided for those 3 organizations?
We have given multi-year funding awards. And on the Amplifund, it doesn't really give a place, but they have asked for multi-year funding awards.
Okay, I'll look at this in a second. And then I just have one additional question. I saw the recommendation for, I should let Commissioner Shrebs read because I read this yesterday, or ask her questions and then come back. Yeah, I'll do that. Commissioner Shrebs.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director Belkman, for all the ongoing dialogue we've been having and following up and answering questions for me, which I really appreciate. One of the projects moved forward for recommendation. Try to clarify. The City Center Living LLC, did that make the final recommendation? I'm looking at my packet.
So that would, I'm asking the board to give tentative approval for the 2025 millage for a loan in the amount of 1.5 million for 115 residential units in the city of Portage.
It was initially on the recommendation that we received the other day, was it, or no?
Yeah, and it's still there, yeah.
So just a piece of feedback, I think while when commissioners, when we've tried to have, and I could offer this otherwise, but sometimes the application names, they start to get, it gets confusing. So maybe there's a way that we can like number or letter them. It's application A or B. And it becomes a lot easier for us to then like dialogue around
Sure.
what we're talking about. Because
Sure.
it starts to kind of all swim together, so to speak. So can you point to me where on the recommendation memo, does it speak to the that city center recommendation for 2025?
It's on page 3
Page
of
3?
5.
Okay. Thank you. And the 1.5 is the full award that they've requested, is that correct?
Yeah, and that's a loan that they will pay back over 20 years.
Okay, and I like the idea of the loans. We haven't had many applications come forward in that manner, a few that we've approved, but
Right.
it
and
helps
then
to bring
it
the
does.
resources back into the fund, which is great.
Yeah.
In that tentative agreement, and in other agreements, and, you know, perhaps we can have dialogue here around this, but ongoing, what's the ask that we're going to be making to commitment to a term for affordability, for what affordability level, and for an agreement to accepting rental vouchers from members of the community as well?
So the voucher thing, I don't have a quick answer on. The affordability, we've asked for 20 years, and we're looking at a system to do compliance to make sure that if you're agreeing to 20 years, that you're actually doing that. So currently, we do not have a system, but we're actively looking at one, and we have a meeting next week and the week after. So folks are required to do compliance, and if you don't do compliance, we have the right to claw back part of that grant. So we will have something in place shortly to make that happen.
Thank you, Director. I think one of the concerns about making advanced sort of awards, and I know we did that at the onset in our first cycle, because there were projects not quite ready. We awarded monies out, and they were very exciting and affordable developments, which is not so much what I see in the city center development. That's an 80% and above AMI. And though, I mean, it takes a lot of work even just to be able to offer units at 80% AMI because of all of the conditions in the housing market. I mean, that's still a very expensive unit for the majority of people in the county. 80% AMI for a 3-person household, to be a single parent with 2 kids, they need to make $31 an hour to be able to afford that unit based on these income projections provided to us in our packet. So I think, you know, maybe we'll have something that comes forward in that next cycle that offers more affordable units than this one, but we would have already committed our resources. And so particularly if we're looking at a loan, they're not going after any sort of a competitive agreement through MISTA. I don't know if we need to, you know, support future funding on a loan right now. What do you see an impact?
The developers here, and maybe that's a better person to ask, so. You want to come up and talk about it, or are you prepared?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Mark Chilcott, member of City Center LLC. Would you mind rephrasing your question, please?
Right here.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's all right. So the question being, the recommendation before us is for a $1.5 million loan for the city center development, which is targeting 80% at AMI and above. And because that's a loan and 80% of AMI is still pretty unattainable for the majority of workers within the county, what impact would a delay on review of that loan until the next cycle? So this board could determine if we have other projects presenting more affordability that we might want to consider for that 1.5
Yeah,
million.
good question, and thank you for asking it. The timing is critical because we are working, our capital stack on this has multiple funding sources for the gap that we have between what market and making it 80% and plus. affordable. So we are working with the MEDC for a CRP loan. We're collaborating with LISC and working with them on their revolving loan that they're putting in place. The county, you are supporting this. And we need to be able to firm each one of those up individually so that the total stack, everybody has confidence that, yes, the county's in, yes, MEDC is in, yes, LISC is in, which then allows us to go forward with the remainder of the project and finalize commercial financing and then construct the project. So it's kind of dominoes, and I know it may feel early to you, but it's important in the overall critical path of where we are in the process of the pre-development and then trying to construct in 2025.
May I follow up, Chair? Thank you. So within the application, it identifies that the units, all units will be under 120 of AMI workforce housing, and a good portion will be identified at 100 to 80% of AMI. So of the 115 rental units within this application, what is a good portion of them? How many of them are targeted at 80% AMI? Is it just the studio apartments that are going to be available within the development?
Well, in fairness to the future residents, we would try to make it a mix. So go beyond just studios. And I don't believe we have studios in this. It's just 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms there. To be honest with you, it's something that we're going to need to work out in the process with staff because there's still information that's changing in the market as far as where future rents are going and how the project's going to be underwritten and financial feasibility. So we're not able to answer that today. Our goal would be to have as many as possible in that range and still have the project be feasible, but I can't give you a definitive answer right now, and I'm sorry. We will commit to work with staff and do our best to meet the needs of that segment.
Thank you. And I'm wondering, for the board, when we're considering affordability, I mean, maybe we need a little bit more firm understanding of what a development will really be able to offer at a time when they've been able to evaluate the market and, commit how many units are we going to see in an affordability range. Because I understand the intentions and all of the difficulties within the market to create, affordable housing. I mean, looking at the performers of some of these, I mean, it's 10 years before a profit begins to be pulled on some of these developments. So I definitely understand the position that you're in, but I also want to make sure that we're using our public resources to create as many affordable units for workers in the community as possible, and a real commitment to that before the monies are awarded. So,
Commissioner, I think a
Thank you.
tentative agreement would help as capital stack. And then as we get to the grant agreement side, we'll have more of this stuff fleshed out, and we'll have that in the grant agreement that comes again in front of the board.
And just in response to that, I mean, I'm a little leery when we've had grant agreements where we haven't been able to reach an agreement on commitment to affordability or verification when we get to the grant agreement. I just don't want to see that occur again, where development has felt the resources are committed, but then they cannot create, due to no fault of their own circumstances, to build affordable units, and that then falls apart, and that creates, I think, pain for everybody that way.
I think that's why we've shored up the language to say, it's a tentative award and it's subject to an executed grant agreement and successful financing of the projects. So I think based upon the deal that you're talking about that didn't get to the finish line, we've tightened up our language per advice of the attorney as well.
I don't have any other questions on this particular application. So the other, I wanted to inquire further on the Portage Creek apartment development. This was one of my highest scoring developments under review. It offered some of the highest number of affordable units at some of the lowest of the AMIs offered within the applications. And that one is not recommended at this time for funding, and I would like you to speak to that. And do we have anybody here from that development to talk with us?
Commissioner, that is recommended on page 4 out of 5. And yeah, that's 2026. That's the River Caddis Portage Creek Apartments. That is a 4% LIHTC deal, so they would really like an advance award. So when they go into get credits, they will score. So, but they will not be ready until 2026.
Director Balkman, isn't the 4% LIHTC not a competitive deal? So the advance award doesn't really impact their ability to get the 4% LIHTC.
Well, they said it does help their capital stack if they do have an advance award.
Are they're not ready to move this project forward until 2026?
They are not.
Do you know why because they wanted an advance award, but it doesn't speak to that in the application, or maybe it did. My notes here, let me try to review.
So as
Thank
far as,
you.
yeah, as far as I know on that project, they still have a pretty significant gap in their funding, even with their 4% LIHTC award. So as Mr. Chilcott just stated, every single piece of financing that they can get towards that stack gets confidence so that more people are willing to sign on as a contributor. So they think that by 2026, they'll be able to get all of the sources that they need in order to break ground on it.
Do you have any sense of what that gap looks like?
The last,
know, I'm
the
sure it
last time
ever
I saw
changes.
it, which was a couple months ago, it was, I think, still between 3 and 6 million.
Okay. So, and, for the commissioners, I mean, this is one of the only developments offering units at 40% AMI. They committed 11% of their units, which roughs out to about 8.5 of the units presented, and 47% at 60 AMI, which is about 33 units. So these are AMIs that we really are not having much impact on. I'd reached out to the director for some kind of understanding of how many of those units so far we've helped fund and create with the cycles that we've been through so far. Director Balkma, do you want to speak to that, or do you want me to just pull up?
You can, you're
Okay.
welcome to.
So, let's see, because you sent me several emails and go, I think you consolidated it into one for me. It's under a dozen. Is that correct, Director?
Out of the 30%ers?
Correct. No,
Well,
let's see, 12, there's 12 at Mount Zion. So
and
9,
then our,
12.
yeah, 12 and 8 is 20,
Mhm.
21, but then the Lodge House, it varies, right? Based upon who's in there, it could be 45 out of the 60. So, I mean, it's a reasonably good showing. Is it perfect? No, but
Mhm.
we really do like those 30% units, obviously. And most of them probably are permanent supportive housing, right? And if Hawthorne Park moves forward with tax credits this year, that will be for that group as well. So anywhere that we can get them, obviously, we like it, but the 30%er makes $1,000 a month roughly. So their income is $300 that they could put toward housing, and the unit costs over 300,000 to build. So, we just need a huge subsidy. As a matter of fact, on Ransom Street, we did one house for a 30% family. The house cost $468,000 to build, and the family can afford just a small amount. And so they probably have to be on the poverty exemption for taxes. We have to get really creative to make that family successful. So the 30% group is very, very difficult. And I think the 10 modular units, those are homeless families. I would count those that the Public Housing Commission just bought, subject to the loan for infrastructure by this board. I would count that too. So I think we're
I mean, those
making,
rents are going to be about $1,000 with the lot rental, which is going to pay us back a loan. And then the rental in the building, it's about 1,000.
but we're going to put it where it's affordable to that family. And since we own them, we can adjust that, obviously. So we're looking at a way to master lease to make sure folks don't lose housing again, and we still have some work to do on that front, but I would count probably those 10 as well. So I think we're making progress to that number, and I think that was a good question that you asked.
Okay, any other questions? Commissioner Mason?
Director Balcom, excuse me. Thank you very much. I know this took a lot of time and effort to put this together, and I'm very pleased that it's being spread out. I thank you, and I think this is wonderful. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Question.
I also thank you, Mary. I know it spends a lot of time doing this. I kind of wanted to just piggyback a little bit on what Jen said. So kind of trying to get to this to where we are. Sounds like the only problem we've got, well, I'll start with this. We've got about $4 million allocated for 2024, right? A little over 4.1, somewhere in there.
No, that's a lie. Hang on.
Then you add up.
We have
all the-
5.3 million total.
5.3 million total.
Yeah.
And the river caddis, I agreed with Commissioner Strebs. That was one, and it took me, because I did this in several different times. I had to combine my notes from different times I looked at it, and it was a lot of fun. But the thing I had, if they're, as Willa said, they're about $3 million short in their gap. Maybe, I mean, it is, I agree, one of the best. Is there any way we can go back to them and say, can you apply for a little bit more money? And we can try to make this happen in, say, 2025. Going through this, it doesn't sound like people have too much of a problem with anything that you've recommended for 2024. It's the 2025s and 2026s that I think that at least that I've gotten some feedback on, but I haven't gotten any feedback on anything from 2024, but I will, before I make that announcement. I'm looking around. But you know, and then I also have spoken a lot about this. It's not just, you know, you're doing great work with your millage, and I think we are as I said before, we're the envy of the state. All the other counties, they talk about the housing shortage, what's going on with their workforce housing, what's going on with their homeless population. And we're a step ahead of the game. We really are. But I do think that we need to take sort of a similar approach to every millage that we have, whether it's the senior millage, whether it's the housing millage, whether it's so that we're not treating one millage differently than we're treating another millage, so that there's some consistency in how we appropriate and distribute those dollars. I think it makes more sense. It makes more sense for the people that are applying for these grants or for these dollars, whether it be the Veterans Fund, any of these special millages that we have. Going forward in 2024, I have no problem with any of your recommendations. 2025 and the 2026 dedicated millage recommendations, I think it's good to have those on paper, but as we all know, and corporate counsel will tell us, no board can make a decision for future boards. So they can have that appropriation, but that's not as far as any sort of, I mean, it's just what this board is saying, not what future boards are saying. They can allocate those dollars any way they see fit. But I do think that we need to have some consistency, and not just how we appropriate the housing dollars, but how we appropriate every dollars. I'd like to see us move forward with 2024 dollars, try to find a way to really push that Caddis project that Commissioner Strebs mentioned to get quicker than 2026, because it is targeting some of the least fortunate and most vulnerable people in our community. But that's my 2 cents. And I told myself I wasn't going to talk much today, and I've already broken that promise.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Vice Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of say too that I agree with many of the comments of Commissioner Strebs as well as the Vice Chair. The Portage project, I had some concerns. I wasn't really in support of it. However, if it's a loan and it'll come back to us before we execute a grant agreement, then I can support that. And then to Vice Chair's point, with the 2026 millage allocations, the River Caddis project is a great project. The Bogan project is also a really good project. We're gonna get 10 units at 30%. There were some questions that I had as I reviewed the application. It was a request for an award for 2 million. Then I also seen 1.2 million. So if we could find out if he needs the 2 million, can we give it to him to ensure that we get that project off the ground as well? And I also kind of saw, I don't know if it's ready in 2025 or 2026. There was some confusion there for me as well, but I'd like to see us move that to the $2 million. And then the rest of the stuff that I can support.
Well, a couple of thoughts on that. River Caddis also has a project on the river's edge in the city of Kalamazoo for $1 million that has been in the works for 7 years, whose award expires at the end of this year. So that $1 million could be in play. The Lift Foundation also has the Hawthorne Park, $1 million, which they were not successful in their tax credits. So that $1 million expires at the end of the year too. So that $2 million could be in play. River Caddis is not ready. So I don't want to give them another amount. I would rather have them go in December's round if they really are not successful at their capital stack. Jamari Bogren, he's in the audience. I don't think he's done his land assembly yet. He is not ready this year as well. So he is working on his capital stack. Obviously, the more money that we put in, the less fundraising or the less we're going to go to the MEDC or all these other sources. But the city of Kalamazoo also has money for city projects. They have to spend down their ARPA money. So I don't want to throw money where, you know what, it maybe is not exactly needed, especially for this year. Folks have to raise money with their capital stack, right? And they're all out there doing it. And so I think this recommendation makes the years balance. It gives confidence. It's tentative. The awards expire if folks can't get to the finish line. And really, the city of Kalamazoo said it takes about 3 to 5 years to get these projects. These do not happen fast. They're complicated. And so I don't want to throw money at them just to say, here's more money. You know what? We will evaluate them year after year after year. And I mean, I meet with Jamari about every other month. And so we're making sure that it's on track. I'm meeting with the city so they can spend on their ARPA funds as well on projects that the county is bringing forward.
Yep, I agree with that. However, I don't think that we're just throwing money at it per se. If it would help in doing less fundraising, I think we should do it. Again, we're getting 10 units at the 30% AMI that we're not really getting from a lot of these other projects. And it looks like the original request was for the $2 million. So I don't see a problem in just moving that. It's not funding from 2024. It's for a future award, correct?
Mhm.
Right. So I don't see the issue.
Thank you, Chair. Again, Mary, thank you very much for the hard work that you put into these books and getting us the evaluations, the hard work you're doing and meeting with all of the developers that we're working with, and the amount of, we only have a small amount of taxpayer money that we're leveraging, and you're leveraging much more by all these folks putting forth efforts to create the housing that we need here in this community, not just in the city, but outside of the city, the home repairs, so we can keep people in their homes that are in need of repairs. And that was one of the things I really liked seeing, that it wasn't just in the city account, not that they don't need it, but there's other areas that need it, as I pointed out a little bit earlier. Comstock, Augusta, Galesburg, Schoolcraft, a lot of these communities, smaller communities that don't even have the ability to leverage these kind of monies to get this. And as our vice chair pointed out, a lot of counties wish they had what we have going in Kalamazoo County. And it's a lot on you and your staff and our county board working with you to get this going. And I am fine with the recommendations that we have brought forth for this year. And again, as we pointed out, there's nothing that we can't tell next year's board what they're going to fund in 25, 26, 27 or beyond. And we have to bear in mind that these are taxpayer dollars. So whatever we can leverage and create new homes and housing for this community is paramount for this community. And I want to applaud you and the staff and our board for stepping up and working with you and all the hard work, because you do this, you live and breathe it, you eat it every day. So I really appreciate your insight in what you're doing for this project, and I'm supporting it. I'm good with it. We'll work on the rest of it later. Thanks.
Commissioner Gessler?
Thank you, Chair. I want to put ditto marks under what Jeff just said. It pleases me no end to see 2 projects in Comstock Township on your list for approval. And I also like the allocation for community homeworks. I only recently, as you're aware, contacted Chris Pradle and became smitten with what they're doing. And I'm overjoyed to see them getting a boost to continue to do what they do. And this is the second meeting, I think, in a row, I found myself agreeing with Jen on something. And that is, could we number these things next time? You know, everybody's got the fancy name, but, you know, just call it Project 1, Project 2, whatever. And it'll be easier for me to understand. I was pleased to hear Jen say that, because that makes me think that maybe it's easier for her to understand that way.
Maybe it's
Thank
just
you.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Commissioner Gessler's coming to the other side. Commissioner.
He needs a lawyer. There's one in the house.
Commissioner DeLu, did you have a hand up?
Well, it's been said before, but I appreciate the money being allocated throughout the county. But I do have one simple question, because I noticed you had something in here for the first time in Kalamazoo County. What is a pattern book home?
Oh, that is a good question. Willa, do you want to speak on that?
So I'm super excited about these pattern book homes. The Michigan Municipal League, in an effort to create more affordable housing, put together architectural renderings for a quadplex and a duplex, as well as an ADU. I think now there's a total of 7 patterns, which really is going to make development more affordable, because it costs between $20,000 and $30,000 to develop those architectural plans. So you can take that right off the top of the pro forma now. But we, as the application said, at least in Kalamazoo County, we don't have anybody who's built these yet. They just came out in 2022. And so I'm really excited to see what they actually look like in the physical form and not just on paper. And hopefully this could be a model for future development as well.
Yeah, I think Grand Rapids, I think I saw something, they did it. And because it was at first Michigan, Southwest Michigan First had a presentation on that. And I was very intrigued by it, and thought it was a pretty good idea. And I think, hey, let's see how it works. So thank you for bringing that forward.
Yeah.
Commissioner Strauss?
Thank you, Chair. For Director Balkema, some of our earlier cycles, including the other River Caddis at River's Edge development. But that particular award and other awards that have already been allocated sort of stuck and not moving for one reason or another, because the environment is extremely complex. What is it that we can do? Is it additional resourcing? Is there other things that we as a policy body or with our millage dollars can do to help get them unstuck out of the mud? Because I'd hate to see at the end of the year, that's a project I'm pretty excited about. I think overall, it's a good mix of units. It's one of the few large developments with a significant amount of affordability built into it. And if our money comes out of that at the end of the year, it dies, right? So do you have any, do you have a magic wand? Do you have any insight? What can we do?
Well, no, I don't have a magic wand, but I can go back and see if it's going to get to the finish line. And we have other pots of money that are coming down through my neighborhood. We have $8 million coming to 6-county region. We have other pots of money. So I can go back to them and the city. I think they have to go back through a site plan and review, because the time has elapsed, right? 7 years is a long time to have something in the works. And so I'm happy to do that and to give update, either an email or at the next meeting. So we have a couple that are stuck, but that are reinvigorated with their fundraising. And I'm super happy to see, like, Hope Through Navigation, another 7-year project. Hopefully we'll get to the finish line, and some of them are stuck for too long and they have land assembly. I mean, Gwendolyn, I think, is in the audience, but she's gone through site plans. She has her developer. She is ready to go. And I think she has a ribbon cutting the next day after you guys make your decision. So we're really ready to go. Some of these folks in the audience. It's not just a dream and not just things on paper. They are working every single day, and they are really, really, really looking for your thumbs up. And so they can start, and their developers are ready to go too. But thanks for your feedback and your questions. Mr. DeLu, that was a good question on the pattern book homes. And if you have any more, or you need me to do any research between now and April 2nd, I'm certainly happy to do that.
We're gonna go to Gisler first, because this is only his second time, and then you'll have the floor.
Thanks, Chair. Mary, you just mentioned April 2nd. Is that what we should anticipate being the date that we actually take the real vote on this?
Yeah, I
And-
really need it
And,
because
and it
folks
looks
have
like
ribbon
everything's
cuttings.
moving forward
Yeah.
nicely with your
Yeah.
outstanding work. But that'll be kind of the end of the line. It'll be a done deal at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chair. This is something I feel that we need to move ahead because, as Mary just pointed out, construction season basically has started. If we're gonna do anything this year, if we don't get it started darn quick, they're gonna be waiting until next year, and they can't do that. Contractors are already out working today. They've been working out for weeks now because we've had some great weather to work outside. And we need to be mindful that we need to get this ball rolling. We can't be sitting back and saying, well, we'll put it off for another couple of weeks. These folks need to get going. As a policy-making group, we need to encourage all of our legislators and other folks, be careful with the regulations you continue to pass. You keep making it harder for builders and contractors to do their work, because if they've got to go from a 2x4 wall to a 2x6 wall, you just increase their cost by leaps and bounds. Yes, we want to be mindful of environmental concerns and how we can make these homes affordable and sustainable, because they can't spend all their money for heating fuel or electricity. So, but I think we got to be very careful on over-regulating the industry and making it impossible for them to build these houses or sustain them. So I think we need to keep that in mind and encourage all of our regulators to be careful with all the regulation and too much regulation, and it kind of really kills the projects. So it bogs them down. They can't get their projects going. Please try to tell them we need to move these projects ahead, not overregulate them, not overtax them, but get the job done. So we got people living in houses that are taking care of themselves, their families, and their community and this state. Thank you.
Sounds like a cafe message.
Yeah, I just gotta jump onto that as well. I agree with Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler that regulation, over-regulation can be a burdensome to a lot of these developers. Also, local units continuing to say that we want local control and not having a unified building code is also added to a lot of these costs. And having a unified building code from the state level that applies to every township and municipality would save tremendous amount of money from a lot of these developers as well. I know the Michigan Township Association would not like me for saying that, but I don't have any townships in my district, so.
You're good.
Commissioner Strauss.
Chair, I just wondered, the questions that you lifted up about the Bogan development, I'm not sure if they really got answered. So I wonder, and Mr. Bogan is here, if he would like to speak to sort of what award would help move that project forward and when they really need it.
That'd be awesome if you'd like to speak to that. Thank you, Commissioner Strauss.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jamari Bogan from Bogan Developments. I am coming back again to request an award. The first project, of course, was Zone 32 Phase 1, which was wildly successful. We have 100% leased up. We'll actually have the governor here on April 2nd to look at the project, look at the story on what we did as a shining example around our state. And so what we're asking here is to do another project, 36 units. 10 of those units will be at sub 30% of AMI. 26, of course, be mixed income because we're looking to create a mixed income neighborhood. But the average rent will be sub 60 AMI, which is what we're looking to hit. As we talk with community stakeholders, that was important. So we made sure that we delivered on that promise. We do have land assembly at the time. The Brownfield has awarded me the land. We're now working on a purchase agreement with them. And we're looking to break ground here spring of 2025. Of course, the development timeline is treacherous, but we believe, as we have learned from our previous project, that our timeline is sufficient and that we have the right partners involved to get the deal done. And so the 2 million really does make a great difference. As you guys all know, there has been a rise in construction costs. There has been a rise in interest rates. And so the gap today is a lot wider than when the millage was created. And so 2 million would actually allow us to deliver on the units that we're looking to deliver on faster. And I know that you guys are looking to get this done today. And so what we're asking for is a little bit more so that we can deliver on what our county is needing, which is more affordable housing for those who are critically in need in our county. So I would greatly appreciate if we could increase it. Of course, as Mary said, I don't mind doing hard work, so I'll do it and figure out how to get it done. But if you guys can lessen the burden, we can now see 36 more units in the north side. And we're going to pair that with something else pretty unique, and we'll talk about that at another date. But thank you, guys.
Thank you. Any questions for?
Just a comment, reading through your proposal and everything. One word comes to mind, elite. So.
Commissioner.
Yeah, I just, again, for the board, I mean, if we want those affordable units at the low end of AMI, it is going to require deeper subsidy from government to do that. We have huge developers in the audience and they need subsidies just to hit 80% AMI. And so if we really want to dig in to the types of community members who are living on the streets right now, the only way that we do that is really digging in to subsidize that work. It's just the reality. And these are the public dollars here to do that. So I really think that I'd like to see us make adjustment to the recommendation. And as he walked away, just the timeline, the allocation in 25, or you need the allocation in 24 to get you moving?
26, because we're the last money in.
Yeah, whatever. We need a commitment today to move the project forward for that.
Spring of 2025 is when you need the money.
Well, no, that's when he starts. But we're the last money in, so it takes a whole year to do the project. So we would be the beginning of 2026.
Can I ask a question on that too? So why do we need to be the last money in on a project?
Because it puts our money at risk if we're the first money in and the project goes bust. So we are the last money in, so we make sure it gets to the finish line. Mm-hmm.
Last time.
So
Yeah,
what
let
I'm
me-
hearing is.
Let me get this on the record. When you talk about public money, that is taxpayer money.
It is taxpayer
Somebody
money.
earned that and was taxed on it, and that's what we're
Absolutely.
talking about spending now. So let's
It's
not
taxpayer
get
dollars.
carried away with whether it's first or last. It ought to be the last. That way it's less at risk. Thank you.
So, Chair, what I'm hearing is that my recommendation can move forward as written, but to change the Bogan development to 2 million. Is that the consensus of this board?
We want to check with River Caddis as well, correct? Was that what you said, Vice Chair? To see if they needed.
99% of what you said was correct. Yes, we wanted to look at the $2 million for the Bogan, and I also wanted to look at the River Caddis project as well. That was also one that targeted 30% AMI and some of the lower numbers. But I have absolutely, the 2024, I have absolutely no problem with. Now, I have a question for corporate counsel, actually. If we dedicate 2025 and 2026 and 2027 millage dollars, is that worth the paper it's printed on, I guess? Because I've seen that done with the legislature before, and then a new legislature comes in and we lose the money.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry for being technologically challenged today. I don't know what's happening there, but I have some questions and concerns that I would like to bring back an opinion on that. I do have concerns about whether an agreement to allocate funding in the future would be binding on the next Board of Commissioners. So I think this is an important project and you really need solid legal opinion that is researched. I don't want to answer it off the cuff, but I see what the concern is with that.
And I guess part of my question too is, does it need to be binding in order for a lot of these developments to go pursue other avenues for the additional financing to stack on top? That's another question that needs, or is it just sort of a written agreement that's kind of a non-binding agreement? Is that good enough? That's a question for some of the developers as well, or more likely their banks.
Yes, that would be a question for their banks. And my concern with, and again, I think we do need to give you a written opinion on this, but my concern would be, what sort of liability does it open the county up to if we make a tentative offer, but then that's rescinded for whatever reason? Not even reason, it's not, there's no completion of that agreement. Maybe the new Board of Commissioners doesn't see it the same way. What sort of liability would the tenant, I would argue none, but based on the law, as you all are familiar, but I think it's something that's worth, if there is going to be on the next agenda, resolutions approving tentative allocations of funds for, 2025, 26, 27, 28, I would like to provide you with some concrete researched opinion to go along with that.
Understood. I guess to answer Director's Chair and Chair's question, I've got absolutely no problem with 2024. As Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler said, we need to get that done today. It's construction season, the sooner the better. The 2025, 2026, I'd like to get corporate counsel's question. And if we can just say, this is our intention at this time, I've got no problem with that. I would hate to put the county in some sort of liability 2-3 years down the road if something happens as far as 25, 26 and $27. But I see no reason why on the next agenda, there wouldn't be at least the 2024 and some sort of statement of intent. That wouldn't necessarily put us in any sort of liability issues, if that makes sense. Director Balkman.
Director Balkman, go ahead.
Sure. 2025, you will also approve the 2025 budget. This board will, and the levy will be levied this year. So I think 2025, you also do have jurisdiction over. So if the question is 26, 27, 28, maybe I have 2 board briefs, and that way the corporate counsel can also opine. And so the 24 and 25 can go, and if the 26 and 20 and beyond have issues, then we can flush that out. Is that agreeable?
Yeah, sure. We'll wait for that opinion. What do we have for 28? I didn't see 28. I did see the 3-year, the multi-year grant for the nonprofits, but I didn't see anything for 28.
We don't have anything for 28.
Okay.
I just made that up.
That is a bit. That was a bit far. Yeah. Okay. So if there
Sorry.
aren't any additional questions, this will be on our agenda for a vote on at our April 2nd meeting at 7 o'clock. Any other questions? Director Balkman?
Chair, can I put the 24 and 25 on the consent agenda and the rest on the regular agenda?
24 on the regular consent?
Yeah, is that
Okay.
all right? 24, 25.
No,
and the-
we'll put it all on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if there's a differing opinion by the corporate counsel, you'll take it up then?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your questions and your feedback. It's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work.
All right. We have folks back online for interviews. However, we are going to move to the proclamation recognizing April 1st through 7th as National Public Health Week. It is the first reading. Are there any volunteers to read the proclamation? All right, I will pick somebody. Proclamation for National Public Health Week. Thank you, Commissioner Dewey.
April 1st through 7th, 2024 is National Public Health Week. Whereas many of the leading causes of death for individuals in the United States result from chronic conditions, which are among the most common, costly, and preventable of all health challenges. And whereas racial and ethnic minority populations in the United States continue to experience disparities in the burden of illness and death as compared with the entire population of the United States. And whereas although significant progress has been made in reducing the infant mortality rate in the United States to a historic low of 5.4 infant deaths per 1,000 live births in 2021, there are still stark disparities in infant mortality by race and ethnicity, geography, and income, such as the fact that Black infants experience infant mortality at a rate twice that of white infants. And whereas an estimated 60% of maternal deaths in the United States are preventable, and whereas there is estimated 107,622 drug overdose deaths in 2021, an increase of nearly 15% from 2020, and whereas public health professionals help communities prevent, prepare for, mitigate, and recover from the impact of a full range of health threats, including disease outbreaks such as COVID-19 pandemic, natural disasters such as wildfires, flooding, and severe storms, and other disasters, including disasters caused by human activity and public health emergencies. And whereas vaccination is one of the most significant public health achievements in history and has resulted in substantial decreases in the number of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths associated with vaccine preventable diseases and healthcare costs associated with vaccine preventable diseases. And whereas public health professionals collaborate with partners outside of their health sector, including city planners, transportation officials, education officials, and private sector businesses, recognizing that other sectors can influence health outcomes. And whereas efforts to adequately support public health and the prevention of disease and injury can continue to transform a health system focused on treating illness into a health system focused on preventing disease and injury and promoting wellness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners hereby declares April 1st through 7th, 2024 as National Public Health Week in Kalamazoo County, urging all residents to join in acknowledging and appreciating the impact of public health professionals in improving the health of Kalamazoo County residents.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were voting on it. I just thought it was the first reading, but that's okay.
Then I withdraw my support.
That's okay. We can pass it. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Dooley. All right. Rewinding back to the beginning. We have Dr. Hemphill and I want to say Denisha Moore is also here too. You guys look really excited. We have the interviews. They're back. Commissioner Gissler. Dina.
Yes, I have Dantre on available right now.
Okay, is Denisha also here or we just have the one?
Denisha is also on.
Okay, thank you. Dontre, you ready to go? Or
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, awesome. So we'll just pick up where we left off. Again, I'm Tammy Ray. I represent District 1. And my question to you is, what do you know about this advisory board and why do you want to serve on it?
What I know about the advisory board is to improve the transparency and to access the public information for the people and just improve the coordination and things like that for different private sectors and partners of organizations and people that they work closely with.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
John Taylor, what experiences do you have that is related to the work of the advisory board? And this could be professional experience you have or experience you have from the community.
I've done some work with Isaac and the Blocks Club to fight against and bring awareness for the gun violence and crisis here in Kalamazoo. Help canvass with different organizations to get people to campaign to get out and vote. Help create a database with the Juvenile Justice Fellows of Western Michigan University, campaigning for the Age of Reasoning up in Lansing. I've and served on a few boards here in town.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Mason.
I'm Commissioner Mazer, District 8. Share what you have learned from working with people from different cultures.
I just learned that working with people from different cultures, everybody is different. So everybody has different opinions, but you still need to take those opinions into consideration and to deep thoughts. And everybody is different. So you just need to learn to work closely with people if it's for the greater good, if you're all for the right cause, and make it work for the best.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gisler.
I'm John Gisler. I represent District 6, and I'd like to know what training or education you've received in diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and how will you use what you've learned in your work with this advisory board? Thank you.
Experience I have related to this work. I'm a racial healing practitioner. Got that through TRHT, now currently MTC. I've done close work with Isaac, currently working with the juvenile justice system and the Bent Not Broken participatory defense for youth.
Thanks.
Mr. Hampel, I'm Dale DeLue. What do you expect this advisory board to give to the community, and how can you help the work of this advisory board?
I expect the advisory board to just give the community full transparency, get the job done, do as they say they will, and do the things that's needed for the community. And how I can help with the work of the advisory board, just bringing that community, bringing that trust, and that support that the community needs.
Thank you.
Hi, Dontre. My name is Abigail Wheeler, and I represent District 4. My question is, what are 3 things that a member of this advisory board should consider?
Transparency, commitment, and strategic thinking.
Thanks for taking the time and sticking with it to be here with us today, Dontre. I'm Jen Strebs. I represent District Number 2. What's the greatest strength do you think you'll bring to this advisory board?
The ability just to be instrumental and collab and with the support for the board and the initiative. Collaborate with different organizations and things of that nature, just for the support for the board and their board initiative.
afternoon. Thank you for being with us. I'm Jeff Hepler. I represent District 7. The question I have tonight is, are you available for the meeting dates and times associated with this advisory board? I realize it hasn't been set up yet, so they really haven't set the board times or the tentative times, but would you be available for whatever times come up?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate your commitment without knowing. So our final question, it's gonna be question 8 for the next candidate. We'll take question 8 out. Do you have any questions for us?
What resources are provided to help committee members fulfill their roles effectively? That's it.
So I'll weigh in. We're kind of muttering to ourselves a little bit. This is, the development of a brand new advisory board. And so, we may need to have a request come to us to provide some resources or training to individuals. There's a stipend available to help support the time that participants spend on the advisory board. And then the county board as well will need to allocate resources and has allocated some for data approaches. And so this body will kind of help make recommendations about ways to be effective with that money.
Question?
I think that was a wonderful, wonderful question because if you look at the investments that we are making in some of the data gathering operations, millions of dollars, well over $1 million, we certainly want this board to be successful. And so we will be anticipating and awaiting any sort of requests from this committee.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Dontre, thank you so much for your time. We have some more interviews that we're gonna do, then we'll deliberate, and then we will begin to appoint members of this advisory board. So again, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, Denisha. Hello.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thank you for applying and your interest in this committee. So the way the process works, we are interviewing, I want to say 6 people, 6 individuals for this advisory board. Many of our candidates did not show tonight, so we'll probably be interviewing again at our next meeting, and we're probably not ready to actually form this board or committee as of yet. But we will all go around, introduce ourselves, and each one of us will ask you a question, and then we'll also give you an opportunity to ask us any questions. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. So I'm Tammy Ray. I represent District 1, and my question to you is, what do you know about this advisory board, and why are you interested in serving on it?
What I know about the advisory board is you guys examine public concerns as well as environment and the protection as the decision-making process within the whole for the Kalamazoo region. What I am interested in the advisory board is just public concerns and just making sure that those concerns are at least heard or met, and different outlooks upon those opinions.
Thank you. Sure.
John Taylor, second question. What experience do you have that is related to the work of the Advisory Board Authority? This could be professional or experience you have from the community.
So I actually hold 5 degrees. One of my majors are business as well as criminal justice. I also do a lot of volunteering as well as through church organizations. In dealing with church organizations, it is a lot of needs that is met, as well as learning about the community and what the public needs.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Wendy Mazer, and I'm District 8. My question is, share what you have learned from working with people from different cultures.
I actually enjoy working with different religions, different backgrounds, different race, because everyone can go through the same thing but have totally different outcomes. And it's always a lesson learned as well as different experiences that you can take advice from or actually say, well, how did that go? Or, just always give ins and outs to different experiences that's learned.
Thank you.
I'm John Gisler. I represent District 6, and I'd like to know what training or education you've received in diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and how will you use what you've learned in your work with this advisory board?
Yes, so I have been in the juvenile justice system within almost 8 years now. I love the dynamic of it because it's always a learning experience that even taking my criminal justice classes or my LEI classes or anything like that, it's always first-handed experiences that have taught me the most instead of just classwork or going through the training. So I actually like to learn from real life experiences.
Thank you.
Hello, Denisha. I'm Dale DeLue. And what do you expect the advisory board to give to the community, and how can you help the work of the advisory board?
Having knowledgeable resources, always networking, knowing who to talk to, knowing the positive outcomes, and having positive impact, not just on the youth, but as well as the elderly people, because that brings the community in a whole. Just having a good grasp on each side of town, and just knowing your whereabouts on what's basically the issues at hand.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Abigail Wheeler. I represent District 4, and my question is, what are 3 things that a member of the advisory board should consider?
Exploring creative solutions. Yes, we might do things back in time or the old ways, but sometimes having a new version of it with the old ways is always helpful. Different point of views, and then trusting the process for the basically completion or outcome.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon to you too. So I'm Commissioner Strebs from District 2. And my question again is, what is the greatest strength that you think you'll bring to this advisory board?
Reliable. I'm always dependable, and I'm very loyal to the company or organization that I work for or take my time out to volunteer for.
Thank you for being with us today. My name is Jeff Hepler. I represent District 7, Kalamazoo County here. And my question tonight is, will you be available for the meeting dates and times associated with this advisory board, even though right now we don't have them set yet? Are you flexible in your schedule?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I will take over. Do you have any questions for us at all?
My only questions is, what are you guys' outcomes in regards to the advisory board? Is it like monthly goals? What is the outcome? Is it just pertaining to one side of town?
I can speak to this. This was really Commissioner Streb's brainchild. And I would say the one outcome, and I've been a believer in this, and I've just kind of learned about this in the last year, but the one outcome I would say is transformational. We're really looking at data collection in a new way so that we can go from several different systems, whether it be housing, whether it be the hospitals, whether it be jails, so that we can identify individuals in our community that currently are just under, and we only have one subset of information on them. But we can look and see what kind of programs can be effective. How can we most effectively distribute our dollars based on information? It's really data gathering so that we can better inform us as a public body on how we're distributing dollars, whether it be for housing or social programs or whatever it is, that we can understand that we're getting the most bang for our buck. It's going to take several years to get up and running, but I think I'd be doing a disservice by talking too much and not letting Commissioner Strebs elaborate, because I have a tendency to talk too much, and so.
Thank you so
Chair.
much.
And I'll just chime in too, and this really was Commissioner Ray in collaboration with advocates in the community to bring the enabling resolution that creates this body forward. But as Vice Chair Taylor is talking about, that intersection of all the data, and the hardest data to get at in the community is that criminal justice data. And so really chipping through the barriers, finding the ways to collaborate. And if you want to explore a system, Cook County in Illinois has got a publicly facing searchable database on criminal justice. And so that's a foundation we could build on and an example that we can use. And then we have these really exciting opportunities with like the Upjohn Institute to link that data with all these other social services and educational and healthcare data, and really begin to see like real time what impact decisions that cities and county, what we make, as governments, how does that impact? And are we making a difference, or where can we pivot? And I think we could start to do some really exciting things. And so could advocates in the community have their access to see this data, and use it to help advance initiatives and speak to policymakers about where they see gaps that maybe we don't.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Strauss. Denisha, thank you so much for taking the time to interview with us today. We have a few more interviews, and then we will deliberate and then make some decisions on who will be appointed. Our staff will reach out to you once that's done to let you know how we chose to move forward. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well. Thank you. All right, looks like we are adjourned, and I'll see everybody back at 7. All right, 7:01, we will call the March 19th regular Board of Commissioner meeting to order. Commissioner DeLu is going to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
May our actions be guided by compassion, understanding, and commitment to make our community a better place. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner DeLu. Clerk, will you call the roll for us, please?
Commissioner Wheeler,
Here.
Commissioner DeLu,
Here.
Commissioner Gisler,
Here.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Here.
Commissioner Mazer,
Here.
Commissioner Morales, Chair Ray, Commissioner Strebs,
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor.
Here.
You have 9 present.
Thank you, Clerk. Next, we have a request for approval of proclamation honoring Warren Meisner for 25 years of service. Is he present today? He's not? Okay.
I'd be happy to read if you want me to.
Sure thing.
Okay. Whereas Warren Meisner has served the citizens of Kalamazoo County for 25 years as of March 8, 2024, and whereas Warren Meisner has faithfully served as Detective Sergeant, and whereas the County of Kalamazoo wishes to acknowledge and honor employees who have longevity under the umbrella of county government, since it is through longevity that expertise in the employee's particular field is achieved. Now therefore be it resolved that the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge with gratitude the many years of dedication and service Warren Meisner has imparted to the citizens of the county and offer its best wishes for many more years of mutual association.
It has been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner DeLu,
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Chair Ray,
Yes.
Commissioner Strebs,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler.
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you, Clerk. Next, we have approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Oh, that wasn't. All right. So the next is a request for approval of proclamation honoring Jason Sloan for 25 years of service. Is he present? All right, Vice Chair, you want to read that one?
Sure. Pull it up here. Okay. Whereas Jason Sloan has served the citizens of Kalamazoo County for 25 years as of March 8th, 2024. And whereas Jason Sloan has faithfully served as deputy, and whereas the County of Kalamazoo wishes to acknowledge and honor employees who have longevity under the umbrella of county government, since it is through longevity that expertise in the employee's particular field is achieved. Now therefore be it resolved that the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge with gratitude the many years of dedication and service Jason Sloan has imparted to the citizens of the county and offer its best wishes for many more years of mutual association.
Support.
Moved by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Commissioner Strebs. Any discussion? Seeing none. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gisler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales, Chair Ray, Commissioner Strebs,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler,
Yes.
Commissioner DeLu.
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you, Clerk. Okay, next is communications. I'm missing page 2, that's why I'm off a little bit. I'm gonna use my computer. So communications, we have a resolution 24-047 in support of the Protect My Kids bill package in the Michigan legislature. And then resolution number 24-117, resolution supporting statewide water affordability legislation. And then a resolution number 24/36, a resolution of support for statewide ballot initiative to restore local control of siting decisions for renewable energy and energy storage projects. Any commissioners have any communications that they want to lift up at this time? Commissioner Gissler?
Yes, that last item with uh, by legislation in Lansing, they're going to put the control over zoning for big installations. I guess they call them industrial size installations of solar, wind, and battery storage in the hands of the Public Service Commission and take it away from the townships. And my townships are angry about that whole idea. They see this as an overreach of government getting into things that they may have good intentions, but they don't understand the local landscape per se, and that they're dead set against it. So I'm sure they're working with the Michigan Township Association to try to drive a stake through the heart of this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gissler.
Just looking at me like, go ahead. But I did have several communications from community members just around affordable housing and lifting up in our allocations that we prioritize those with low incomes.
Thank you, Commissioner Shrebs. Any others? All right, so next we have a request for approval of the March 5th, 2025 draft committee of the whole and regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. And then next is an approval of the agenda. Motion by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler, support by Commissioner Wheeler. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, motion carries. Next up, we will now be entering public comments. This is a time when anyone may address the board on any topic. If you would like to address the board, please come up to the podium. Please state your name and tell us where you're from. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Your time will be displayed. And once your 3 minutes are up, your time to speak is finished. This is a time to provide input in a professional and respectful manner. Are there any members of the public who wish to make public comment at this time? Welcome. It's the bottom right button.
Oh, my name is Matt Smith. I live in Kalamazoo County. I'm also a librarian, local historian, and a housing activist here in Kalamazoo. And I'm deeply concerned with what I see a lack of clear vision with this housing millage. It kind of explains how complicated it's become. These projects are all over the place. You, on the one hand, have way too much information, which is a burden on this commission. In other respects, you lack basic information like what the rents are. So I urge, I feel like some of you already know that and others of you are starting to feel that. So I'm urging and pleading that this board steps up and kind of imposes your own consensus, clear, simple vision for this housing millage. And I'm just going to suggest 4 ideas. 0 to 60 AMI is the heart of this millage. 2, you might have to find outstanding developers to build that 0 to 60. 3, if you're going to do homeownership, do it historically conscious. And then 4, decide that economic development for this board means actually taking care of your people that are here already. 0 to 60 is the heart of the millage. That is what we're talking about when we talk about a housing crisis. These are just low income folks. Of course, there's a racial equity opponent. 0 to 60 is the only way to be accountable to Black income. It's that simple. It's how the math works out. But it's also just a general common sense class equity issue. What I'm telling you is there's more than enough low income white people that fall within the 0 to 60. More, there's too many. So I'd love this board to make it a priority that every single project that comes to your desk has a respectable amount of 0 to 60, and you can decide what that looks like. If Mary Baltimore can't provide amazing developers that have a body of work at 0 to 60, this board might have to find them because they exist. If you're going to do home ownership, if you don't have this information, I'm definitely willing to provide it, but be a little historically conscious about this. I've been giving this red line talk for 6 years now, and there's at least 3 areas that deserve priority: North Side, East Side, Edison. They were robbed of this opportunity for decades. And last, I want the board to consider what economic development means to you. Does it mean actually attracting people from the outside? Because that's what we call 120% AMI projects. Have you talked to ordinary folks in your community with decent salaries, what they think about these 120% folks? This is unreasonable. You don't use the people's money for 120. That's going to happen no matter what, especially after the Foundation for Excellence tax breaks. So economic development, the board can insist that what it means to you is that you're taking care of your people, and there's more than enough people that you can take care of. Where's the timer? Oh, I'm done. Got to go put my kid to bed.
Thank you, Matt. Are there others that wish to make public comment? Seeing none, Dina, do we have anyone online?
Chair, we do not have anyone online.
Thank you so much, Dina. All right, do we have any volunteers to take us through the consent agenda? Commissioner DeLu. Oh, I'm sorry, who volunteered? Oh, Kevin? Or Commissioner DeLu?
Although I read it the last meeting and I'm proposing we don't read it, but I'd be happy to read it.
Thank you so much.
Yes. 2024-286 request for number 1, approval and signature of contract with Civic Plus for website redesign services, and 2, a budget transfer. Under Board of Commissioners, 308, request for review and approval of CY23 reemployment services and eligibility assessment program. Sorry, I'm not doing this on my computer. 329, request for review and approval of 23 WIOA SWA for the Young Professionals 2024 initiative through Michigan Works. Under Buildings and Grounds, 310, request for approval and signature with Allied Mechanical Services. Under the Clerk's Office, 24-360, request for approval of a budget adjustment to the ROD Automation Fund to reflect position eliminations and creations approved at the November 8th, 2023 Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Under Finance, 2024-68, recommendation for approval of accounts payable and payroll disbursements. 350, request for approval of various budget adjustments, transfers, and positions elimination and creation. 359, request for approval of amendment to financial policy in reference to per diem payments. Under Health and Community Services, 236, request for approval and signature of amendment number 2 to the Area Agency on Aging vendor contract with WMU Center for Disability Services. 255, request for approval and signature of senior millage year 4 contract amendment number 1 with Community Action South Central Michigan. 279, request for approval and signature of County Veteran Service Office Fund Grant Amendment. Under 301, request for approval of position creation with the Environmental Health Division within the Environmental Health Division. 313, request for approval of position continuation within the Environmental Health Division. Under Planning, 330, request for resolution to number 1, approve submittal of notice of intent to plan to Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, EGLE, to prepare a materials management plan, and 2, authorize the county commission chair to consult with neighboring counties' Board of Commissioners regarding multi-county planning, and 3, designate the Planning and Development Department as a designated planning agency. Under Sheriff, 326, Request for approval of and signature on agreement between Kalamazoo County Community Mental Health Authority doing business as Integrated Services of Kalamazoo in the County of Kalamazoo on behalf of the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Department. I believe that is all, and I request all these items be voted on with one vote.
Moved by Commissioner DeLu, supported by Commissioner Wheeler. Clerk, can you call the roll for us, please?
Commissioner Morales. Chair Ray. Commissioner Strebs.
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor.
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler.
Yes.
Commissioner DeLu.
Yes.
Commissioner Gisler.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Commissioner Mazer.
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you, clerk. Moving right along here. Item number 10 is our consent agenda discussion. Is there a motion from anyone as far as, oh, we see two. Any, many, money, mo. Commissioner Tulu.
No, I, unfortunately, Commissioner Gissler, after our discussion at the last meeting and an email I received, I don't plan on making a motion to no longer read the consent agenda. I guess we'll continue to read.
Commissioner Gissler has a motion.
I move that we cease reading the consent agenda at every meeting. Thank you.
Is there support? Going once, going twice. Failed. We will continue to read the consent agenda. All right. Oh. Sure.
I think we have a lot in front of us, so, but the feedback we received in email from a constituent had some good comments in it, and particularly about maybe making the language just more understandable, the way that we present the consent agenda. So maybe there's room to just kind of consider that and make it so it's digestible to the people who hear us read it out in the future. I think that makes a lot of sense, so they know what we're talking
Sure.
Also, we can probably put more stuff on the consent agenda too. I mean, I know that we changed our rules so that for expediency purposes, specifically during COVID, but there's some things that aren't time constrained that we could probably, in transparency, instead of it being in the back of a claims list, it can also be on the consent agenda as well.
Any more comments? Are you okay? Okay. Yeah. No new business. So it looks like notes. The next item on the agenda is public comment time. This is the time when anyone may address the board on any topic. If you would like to address the board, please come up to the podium. Please state your name and tell us where you're from. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. The time is displayed by Deputy Administrator Cole, and once your 3 minutes are up, your time to speak has finished. This is a time to provide input in a professional and respectful manner. Are there any members of the public who like to make public comments? Seeing none, Dina, do we have anybody online?
There is no one online, Chair.
Thank you so much for checking. Next, we have reports of officers, bodies, administrator, controller. So I don't have much of a report. I think today is the deadline for us to let Administrator Catlin know whether or not we're going to the MAC conference in Lansing. So if folks will remember to do that, that would be awesome. Also want to say thank you to Director Balkema for putting together those binders and providing all the information for the applications. Thank you to Commissioner Strebs and other commissioners who raised really important questions. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, thanks to Isaac too for these books. I'm excited to read them. And my mailbox is clear if anyone else wants to leave mail. Vice Chair.
Thank you. I attended a couple of different advisory meetings. The land bank is doing great things. Some of their the projects, I'm continuing harping and reminding them what I reminded commissioners here. It's great to have a plan. It's great to have a vision, and they're doing great work. But just always in the back of your mind, have your exit strategy of how do we get these back into home ownership and back onto the tax rolls. That should be the end goal. Also attended the Justice Center grand opening. They're putting together something. Tentative date is September 7th. We feel we can get the governor there, maybe a couple of Senate candidates as well. And being election season, we might be able to get some high name, but we're really going to utilize it as a way to showcase Kalamazoo, showcase our community, and really that we built a $90+ million building without raising taxes. I mean, that's unheard of. To decades of using a revenue sharing to dedicate towards paying off a bond for that. It's a testament to several decades of real good fiscal stewardship of our county dollars. Also, I think that was it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Is there a place I can recycle all this stuff too? If I can open up your door.
Administrator Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem, Commissioners, audience. I just wanted to go over several items. First of all, thank you for a great meeting and to the staff that prepared items for consideration tonight. Can't do this, can't host these meetings without them, so appreciate that and appreciate your thoughtfulness tonight. I wanted to share some good news, financial news that we received from the marijuana agency that oversees the distribution of the adult use marijuana tax. Kalamazoo County is receiving for 2023 $1.89 million in marijuana adult use payments. And so what that means for 2024, if you recall, we budgeted 1.75 million. So the projection is basically spot on. We're reaching a stage at this point where we are going to be able to really budget a consistent number from year to year. So that way we don't have to continue changing it. But at this point in time, we're reaching a stage where the businesses that exist today for adult use marijuana are probably going to be the ones that are more consistent. So that payment should be more consistent from year to year. So this will have implications obviously on our 2025 budget and what we project, and it'll go into that financial model for that projection. Wanted to share information on our strategic planning effort that we're undertaking. So we contracted with Allison Brunette and her team, and so they'll be meeting with us on April 22nd, and we'll be meeting at the Comstock Township Hall in their space, so sort of a neutral space on April 22nd. That'll be at 5:00 p.m. So we'll get a calendar invite sent out and an invitation. April 22nd at 5 p.m. The board will be meeting with countywide elected officials, the 2 chief judges, 2 court administrators, and then all department heads for the county. And then the next day, the following day on the 23rd, they'll be meeting, meaning the consultant, and their team will be meeting with our deputy directors of departments. So those will be also from countywide elected offices and so on and so forth. So to begin garnering that input, we also sent out in our countywide employee newsletter, quarterly newsletter, the link to a strategic planning survey for employees to provide input on the county strategic planning process. So input on whatever item or benefit or anything they wanted to talk about to be considered by the board through this process. So we're encouraging all employees to take that. The actual comments and feedback are anonymous. They are going to share generalizations of comments to us and to the board for consideration to implement and to incorporate into the plan. Wanted to share an update on the TriShare effort. So we have 16 active employees and then 24 in process. So that effort's going well. We're monitoring the fund balance on that for the funding, the ARPA funding that was allocated. And so that's all trending very nicely, but we're helping out employees that are in critical need for childcare reimbursement. wanted to update the board on a couple of events that are going on tomorrow and Thursday. So Texas Township is hosting their new Township Hall open house tomorrow at 4:30. And then on Thursday, the Road Commission is hosting their new facility open house on Thursday at 4 p.m. And I believe that's all I have for you tonight, but happy to entertain any questions on these topics or any others you may have.
Thank you, Administrator. Any questions? Commissioner Gisler?
Yeah, I'd like to have you confirm what John just said about September or September 7, but that's questionable, but definitely it's not early May, right?
I think it's pretty much been. I think it's pretty much been decided amongst the people there, the judges and everything, that September 7th was the date that worked the best for the grand opening.
Okay, the reason I ask, if that's really it, is I think I've mentioned this before. One of the trustees in Comstock is a descendant of Charles A. Pratt, and his offspring are scattered around the country. And the local guy here in Comstock is trying to coordinate, housing and airplanes and all that sort of stuff to get the gang in. They really want to make it, a family event out of it. So I can give them September 7 as a working date.
Yes, you can. And I'm on the invitations committee, but we haven't even met yet. But I know one of the big, the subcommittee hasn't met yet, but I know one of the big pushes was to try to get as many people from the family as possible to attend that. And then we were going to ask, we'll do it publicly. We were going to ask Chair Ray to make some comments. But I'll ask her after.
Next time you see her.
Next time I see her.
I missed the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gisler. Any other questions for Administrator Catlin?
Yeah, one quick one. You mentioned the ARPA fund, the tri-share funding. You said ARPA. It's not ARPA funding, right? There was a.
Yes, so that was an ARPA allocation. So we budgeted ARPA for a 3-year period for a pilot project or pilot program.
My understanding was we allocated it out of the 2024 budget process and out of the large portion, but ARPA money wouldn't be through the budget, would it?
Yes, so we had to obligate the funding by December 31st, 2024. So we utilized that opportunity for the 2024 budget to obligate the ARPA funding to comply with the ARPA federal rule.
So we allocated ARPA funding for was it all 3 of those? Okay, so we used ARPA funding as the 3 contingencies, and then the carryover, the 8 million or 6 million of carryover, or 8.5 million of carryover for next year, that would be part of that golden ratio rule or that golden rule.
Yes, Vice Chair, whatever number that is determined to be, which we'll find out in June. Yes, that would be applicable to that financial policy. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, I guess my comment is to other commissioners. We've got a carryover situation here, and I think we've got a situation where we don't necessarily need to dedicate ARPA dollars to something that I really feel strongly about the tri-share program, that it could be a continuation. It could be a workforce development tool. It could be an attraction tool. And I would like to see it eventually moved into something more sustainable part of our budget. I know it's a third of it comes from the state and they're in the pilot program state, but I don't see the state getting rid of it anytime soon. I guess that's probably a conversation for the 2025 budget, but just to give you guys a heads up, I'm going to be leaning in that direction.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Thank you. Just because it sparked a thought from Vice Chair's comments for Administrator. Again, probably something to be part of the future budget discussion. But within the housing millage recommendations we reviewed, one is a KNHS home ownership program, and they will be recruiting employers to help contribute matching funds for employees' down payment on a purchase of a home, or also for critical home repairs. And I would challenge the administration to think through that in the budget process and bring that forward as maybe one of the first employers to join that project and use that as a recruitment tool, particularly maybe targeting some of our hardest to fill positions, if not more broadly. Thank you.
All right, Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. You're up.
Thank you, Chair. Um, I have attended a couple of commissions. We did the opioid meeting at right here, and the first meeting was very good. Appreciate all the administration's work. Lindy did a great job of getting that started. We had a lot of questions. Thank you, Commissioner Strubs, for your leadership on that, and the work we're doing there is it's a lot of work, and we hardly got through first three questions out of the 11 that we were going to try to get through that day. So a lot more to do. Also was at the Fair Council meeting, and we've got a lot of work to do there. It's still going to be more of a 4-H show, so we hope to work on that. They have had a number of people commenting about not having a fair. So basically not having the carnival part of it, including folks in there, but that's something that we have discussed, and it's going to take some time to get a program put together, and our Parks Department is just getting overwhelmed with that thing, that part of their facilities. So I think we will have to put our heads together and see what we can do to put together a program to help them out, making that thing successful. Not that it's not successful. The 4-H show is very important to our community. A lot of our areas are 4-H driven. Good share of our county is agricultural. It's one of the three big things in the state of Michigan. We got automotive, recreational, and agricultural. Those are our big draws to the state of Michigan, and we need to be mindful of that and help our community get things going in the right direction. So with that being said, again, please keep in mind all these folks we're coming into severe weather time of year. So have a plan made for your home, for your family, for your business, for possible severe weather. We have had tornadoes. In fact, I think April 2nd, I had a tornado go through Augusta back in 78. And then we had one come through right down Kalamazoo here. Was a fatality involved, or 5 fatalities involved in that, if I recall correctly. Tornadoes are Mother Nature wins. Sorry, we can do what we want, but you got to have a plan. A plan is important for everything, and emergency management is been working hard to keep us safe, but we have to pull our boots up and make ourselves safe. So please work with your family to have a plan to keep your family safe, your neighbors safe, your community, and our county and our state. With that said, please remember to thank the men and women of our fire, our police, our medical, the military that are out there protecting us every day, working to keep that safe. There's a lot of problems in the world, and we're seeing a lot of it on the news every night. And we need to be prepared, and we need to keep those folks in mind in our prayers. So keep them in mind, and have a safe Easter, and thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Commissioner Morales.
It is the chair, I'm sliding. It's comfortable though. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Chair. So I appreciate, first, thanks to Mary Balkma for putting our booklet together. It was intense, it's a lot. I still got some work to do. But I also want to thank the gentleman who came up, that's the historian, because I had made some similar comments as to how we need to revise this to help our county win. As someone who grew up in a system where my mom couldn't afford rent, I understand why this AMI needs to be taken down. Even if when we look countywide, we just brought salary, pay rates up to what, $15. We still got people not really making that, and we have people that are making $15 to $18 that are not a family of one, but that are a family of five. And so when we look at monies that we've already put into developments, we still have folks that can't afford the rent. I had went with Congresswoman Slotkin to visit Bogan's development over there off of North and Frank, and I had to have a conversation with him, like, who can really afford this? What is your goal? And he actually went back to one of his fiduciaries and was able to lower the rent. So when we think about moving forward on this, as the historian said, and in some of my comments to some commissioners, if folks or developers don't want to, agree with our recommendations, then maybe they should go to a bank or have their own fundraiser. Everyone in this county deserves a safe place to stay and, not have to choose between food and rent. And so when people think about handouts, we all get handouts. I mean, we look for tax breaks. It doesn't matter. Even the rich do. And sometimes they win more so with tax breaks than us. But when we look at this, folks who receive vouchers are taxpayers as well. And I think as we redevelop our city, everyone deserves a nice place to stay and shouldn't have to choose from crumbs when they use their voucher. And if people are gonna, partake in this, then they need to accept vouchers. And one of my other thoughts was that, we said 20% of their units need to be 0 to 120, but if they do accept a voucher, I'm even recommending that it goes to 30% to be in alignment with what MISTA recommends for folks to pay who are on Section 8. I know that's not popular, but if we want our communities to thrive and want folks to quit complaining about who's walking around downtown and coming in and out of our entities and things like that, then I think this is a crucial decision that we'll have to make, but everybody could win, especially when we're trying to bring dollars back into our community. And everybody knows I'm for taking care of us first. Thank you for your service to all of our EMS, police department, sheriffs, and all that good stuff. We appreciate you. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Schertz.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just very appreciative to all the commissioners digging in and speaking as we continue to vision and sort of like build the boat as we row with the housing millage. Been through a few cycles, and I just want to lift up, as Commissioner Morales did, Librarian Matt Smith's comments. He touched on something that the prior commission got to see in an abridged version from him, the presentation about redlining and the impact of those policies on Kalamazoo County and on our neighborhoods and on the housing stock. And so a lot of discussion, and we got some data about, which parts of the community contribute how many dollars into the millage. We also need to recognize and understand property values in certain areas of the community are where they are because they were not subjected to decades long housing oppression from the federal government. And I'm so glad he came again, because we've been talking about AMIs, and we got to help people at the low end of the income spectrum, but without really continuing to keep in mind the impact of redlining. That was a government action, and it really is a place then for government to think about how we work to correct that. So, we may want to reach out to Matt again, because some of our current board did not get to see that presentation, and maybe you haven't learned about it yet, and learned like really some of the streets in this community, what happened there, what they looked like, what that home looked like, and what the neighbors did to drive certain demographics, to drive Black people out of specific neighborhoods, to drive down property values. That's got to be part of the discussion as we're visioning going forward. So I'm just so glad that he was here tonight. And thank you all for your work. Thank you to Director Balkema, for all the developers, whether they're hitting low AMIs or not. I know it's tough when you look at these pro formas. Yeah, it's difficult and we understand, but let's invest where we need to for our folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wheeler?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to echo the sentiment of Commissioner Morales and Commissioner Stubbs of, doing that work and making sure we take care of our most vulnerable. So thank you to everybody who put their hard work into scoring and for Director Balkema to make those binders. It was really helpful. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner DeLu?
I didn't have anything till Jeff or Commissioner Hepler mentioned tornadoes. Tomorrow is the statewide tornado drill at 1 p.m. So if you get call from anybody wondering what the sirens are, that's what it is. And that is all.
Thank you for keeping us informed. Commissioner Gissler?
I want to thank Commissioner DeLu for that reminder about 1 p.m. tomorrow. When we had the tornado warning, a couple weeks ago, actually the sirens went off in my area and you could hear them. I thought, I think I know what that is. And so I turned on the TV because it was a little past my bedtime, but sure enough, they were working. I hope that everybody else that had working sirens heard them because it was more of a novelty to start with. And if you want to permit me to follow along with the tornado theme, I don't think I've mentioned that here before, but I've been watching some tornado stuff on the Weather Channel and places like that. And they talk about the possible protection that could be offered by any kind of headgear. They're talking about motorcycle helmets with a full face plate on it. And it doesn't have to be something terribly expensive. A football helmet, even a bicycle helmet is better than nothing. But apparently most of the deaths in tornadoes are because somebody got hit in the head with a board or debris or something. So anything you can do to protect your head in a tornado is a good idea. Not that I'm looking for tornadoes, but you guys are going to continue to see this until the end of June. Come on, guys. Get those reservations made to get to Orlando. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gissler. Commissioner Mazer?
Okay, I'll be brief. You took my announcement, Texas Township Open House. So thank you for mentioning that. And then also too, I want to thank Mary Balkema again for all the hard work she did. And I thought she did an outstanding job and I appreciate her expertise. So thank you.
John, don't run.
Gotta get out of here. I'll wait very patiently.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. All right, if all hearts and minds are satisfied, we're adjourned.